The northern winds howl, the Ironfang warriors fall silent, and an Alpha who vowed never to break again is about to face the one woman who shattered him. Welcome back to the Velvet Story, where passion meets power and fate is never gentle. In Chapter 12 of Alpha's Reluctant Luna, Serenya walks straight into the lion's den, or rather the wolf's fortress. The Ironfang stronghold trembles with tensions old and new, as two souls who ran from destiny are about to collide in a storm of heartbreak, fury, and undeniable longing. Before we dive into the fire and frost of this chapter, don't forget, like this video to support the channel, subscribe so you never miss a chapter, comment ready for Chapter 12 if you are prepared to enter the Northern Fortress with Serenya. Now, take a breath, because Chapter 12 begins with a single step into a place she was never meant to survive. Chapter 12, The Northern Fortress. The Ironfang fortress rose before her like a living monument to power. Cold, vast, and majestic, its gray stone towers were wreathed in mist, its gates guarded by massive black wolves whose eyes gleamed with silver. The air was sharp and electric, thick with dominance and magic. Serenya felt her mare tense beneath her as they approached the gate. She dismounted, boots crunching on frost-hardened earth, and lifted her chin. Though every instinct screamed that she was walking into danger, her wolf stood tall within her. He's here. The guards moved instantly, their hackles rising as they caught her scent. One of them, a tall warrior with dark hair, shifted partially, eyes glowing. "Who goes there?" he demanded, voice rough and edged with suspicion. "Serenya of the Stormfang pack," she said firmly. "I seek your Alpha." Murmurs rippled among them. Her name carried weight even here. After all, Kaelen's sudden return weeks ago had left the pack unrestless, their Alpha colder than ever, and his warriors had whispered of a she-wolf whose name he had forbidden them to speak. The dark-haired guard hesitated. "The Alpha does not take visitors." Serenya met his gaze unflinchingly. "He will take me." There was such conviction in her tone that even the wolf in him faltered. After a tense pause, he gestured sharply. "Very well. Follow me." They led her through the gates, across a wide courtyard bustling with warriors training under the pale sun. The clang of steel on steel echoed against the stone walls, and the air smelled of sweat and snow. But as she walked past them, all movement stilled. The warriors stopped mid-strike, their attention drawn to the stranger who dared step into their stronghold. Whispers rippled like wind through the crowd, some curious, some wary, some recognizing the faint echo of their Alpha scent clinging to her. She felt every gaze pierce her like a blade, but she kept walking, her back straight, her heartbeat loud but steady. Finally, they reached the fortress doors, massive slabs of black oak carved with the Ironfang crest, a wolf's head encircled by runes. The guard stepped forward and bowed. "Alpha Kaelen, a visitor requests audience." From within, a low voice cut through the silence. "Who dares?" Even through the heavy door, Serenya felt the command in his tone. The sheer dominance in it made her wolf lower her head instinctively. The guard hesitated, glancing back at her. Serenya took a breath and spoke before he could answer. "I do." The door swung open. The war room was dim, lit by the glow of torches and the faint blue shimmer of runic wards along the walls.
Maps and scrolls were spread across a long table, but Kaelen stood with his back to it, half turned towards the door. He was the same, and yet not. His dark hair was longer, his jaw unshaven, his shoulders tense beneath a cloak of black fur. The air around him crackled with restrained power, the kind that made the room feel smaller, the oxygen thinner. When his eyes found hers, time stopped. For a heartbeat, he didn't move. His breath caught, and every muscle in his body went rigid. He said, "Serenya." His voice low and dangerous. Her name left his lips like a curse and a prayer all at once. She stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Kaelen." His eyes darkened. "Why are you here?" "I came to..." "To what?" he snapped, the words slicing through the air. "Apologize? Undo what you did?" His wolf surged forward beneath his skin, its fury palpable. "Do you have any idea what it's been like, feeling the bond scream across every mile between us, knowing you're out there, pretending I don't exist?"
Her tears blurred her vision. "I didn't pretend. I suffered too. Every second without you." "Not enough," he growled. "Not enough to stop you from running. Not enough to keep you from binding yourself against me." She flinched. "I was afraid." He let out a bitter laugh. "Afraid of me?" "No," she whispered. "Afraid of us. Afraid of losing myself to something I didn't choose. But Kaelen..." She took a trembling step closer. "Now I know. I wasn't losing myself. I was finding where I belonged." His expression faltered, but only for a second. He turned away, gripping the edge of the table until his knuckles whitened. "It's too late for pretty words, Serenya. I waited, I burned, I broke, and I swore I'd never beg again." Her voice softened. "Then don't beg, just listen." She reached out slowly, her fingers brushing his arm. The contact was electric, an explosion of warmth and pain that made both of them gasp. The bond surged between them, no longer muted, but alive, pulsing with everything they'd denied. Kaelen closed his eyes, his body trembling as if fighting himself. "Damn you," he whispered, the words torn from him. "Damn you for coming back." Her tears slipped free, but she smiled faintly. "Then damn me, Kaelen. But don't let me go." For a long heartbeat, neither of them moved. Kaelen's breath came ragged, his chest rising and falling like he was holding back a storm. Her fingers, small but steady, still rested against his arm, the warmth of her touch seeping into his skin like sunlight through ice. He wanted to pull away. He needed to. But every instinct in him, every thread of his soul screamed to turn, to pull her in, to bury his face in her hair and breathe again. He had thought himself beyond hope, beyond forgiveness. Yet one look into her tear-glazed eyes, and his resolve trembled like glass on the verge of shattering. "Kaelen," she whispered again, the sound of his name like a soft plea. He clenched his jaw. Don't say my name like that. Not after I ran," she finished, voice shaking. "After I made the worst mistake of my life?" Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "You were right to hate me. I lied to myself. I thought I could deny the bond, that I could choose something else, someone else. But it was never a choice. You were never something fate forced on me, Kaelen. You were the only thing my heart ever truly wanted." Her words broke through the wall he'd built around his chest. Kaelen turned at last, his silver eyes locking with hers. They were wild. Pain,
Love, fury, longing, all burning together in one impossible storm. He stepped closer, his voice rough. Do you think you can just walk back into my life and erase everything? The sleepless nights, the rage, the silence? She didn't flinch. No, but I can face them with you if you let me. For a moment, the room seemed to tremble with the power between them. His wolf surged beneath his skin, snarling with desperate need, clawing for release. And then he snapped.
Kaelen grabbed her wrist, yanking her forward until she crashed into his chest. The air rushed from her lungs as his scent, storm and cedar, enveloped her completely. Do you know what you do to me? He growled, his lips barely a breath from hers. I can't think. I can't breathe. Every time I close my eyes, I see you. Every time I try to forget, I hear your damned voice. Serenya trembled, her heart racing. Then stop trying to forget. He froze. Their eyes met. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't patient. It was years of restraint and weeks of pain, and every drop of longing poured into one fierce, consuming act. Her hands fisted in his cloak, his arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer as if afraid she'd vanish again. The bond roared to life between them, stronger than it had ever been, burning through the remnants of the witch's spell. The magic that had muted their connection shattered, dissolving into sparks that crackled faintly in the air around them. The curse was broken. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. Kaelen rested his forehead against hers, breathing hard. You shouldn't have come, he murmured, though his arms never loosened. She smiled through tears. Maybe not, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving unless you throw me out yourself. His lips twitched into the ghost of a smile, the first she'd seen since before he left. You're impossible. I learned from the best, she whispered. He exhaled, a sound somewhere between a sigh and a growl, and finally, let the tension drain from his body. He drew her fully against him, burying his face in her hair. You broke me, Serenya, and God's help me, you're the only one who can fix me.
Her eyes fluttered shut. Then let me try. Outside, the wind howled around the fortress, but inside the war room, the storm had passed. For the first time in months, peace settled between them. Not perfect, not easy, but real. The bond pulsed warmly, steady and strong, as if the moon herself smiled upon their reunion. Serenya pulled back slightly, her fingers tracing the mark at the base of his neck, where the bond now glowed faintly with light. I want to stay, she said softly, if you'll have me. Kaelen brushed a thumb along her cheek, his voice a low vow. You were always mine, even when I tried to forget it. She smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. And you were always my choice, even when I was too blind to see it. He kissed her again, this time, slow, tender, reverent, no longer born of fury, but of love finally accepted. And that was chapter 12, The Northern Fortress, where the bond finally roared back to life, the curse shattered, and two hearts stopped running. Serenya's return broke Kaelen's walls and healed them in the same breath. The storm outside the fortress may rage on, but the one between them just found its calm. If this chapter hit you in the chest like it did me, make sure you like the video, subscribe to The Velvet Story for more chapters. Comment below, Team Serenya, Team Kaelen, or Team Fated Mates Forever. I want to know which heart you're rooting for. Thank you for listening, and I'll meet you in the next chapter, where fate isn't done with them yet.